Thanks for letting me know, Bella. Good morning, everyone. Hope you're all doing well today. Happy Friday. All right, it's 10:20, guys. We're going to get started now. I'm going to take attendance, but Mr. Klusman is actually going to be running today's lesson. So I'll hand it off to Mr. Klusman, and I hope you're all doing well. So, Mr. Klusman, whenever you're ready.
All right. Hi, guys. Sorry, I just had to change headphones right at the last second there. All right, so let me know if you guys can hear me. All right, let me know if you can't hear me. Okay. Because, yeah, I just had to change headphones right that second. Because I wasn't able to hear you guys. All right, okay. So, happy Friday, everybody. Okay, so today is actually my last day as a student teacher with you guys. So I won't be seeing you guys again. So today we're just going to try to kind of take it easy. The main thing, two things today. I want you guys to make sure that you are able to understand the prologue and translate it into understandable modern English. Okay, what Shakespeare wrote in, we call early modern English, but it's still difficult to understand even for somebody like me who's been studying it forever. If it's been a while, I have to look at the footnotes. Okay, so what I want us to do is to make sure that we get a real good introduction to Shakespeare's language and put it into words that we can understand. Okay, so the first thing I need you guys to do is to go to today's module. Let me share that with you. All right. So if you go to today's module, it says to do 3.5.21. All right. So click on that. So the two things I want you to make a copy of are just below that to-do list on the module. So make a copy of the Romeo and Juliet prologue text and the Romeo and Juliet prologue worksheet. Okay, so all I'm going to want you guys to do, we're going to put you into, I'm going to go over the first stanza of it, and then I'm going to put you into breakout rooms and want you to translate it in a group. Okay, then we'll come back from the breakout rooms, talk about something else, and then I'll put you in breakout rooms again. We'll come back again and just watch some videos of people performing the prologue. All right, so we go back to the module. The first thing I want you to make a copy of is this. This is just a written out version of the text. So you can play around with it, you can write on it, you can put notes on it, whatever you want. Okay? So that's the first thing I need you guys. Yeah, it doesn't have to be correct. I just want to get an idea of what you guys feel. Okay? We'll go over it. As I said, we'll do the first 4 lines together, or I'll kind of do it for you, and then I want you guys to do the last 10 lines in a group and just kind of seeing what you guys think. So it's not a correct or incorrect issue. All right, so get this prologue text. It's just the text. There's a link here about the pronunciation if you're interested, but get that. And then the one that says the worksheet here. Okay, so let's go over this real quick. The worksheet here is where you will put in your translation in this box below each line. Okay, so just put in whatever you think, what your group talks about. No, there's no real right or wrong. And then in part 2, we're going to return to the breakout rooms, and then I just want you guys to together write 1 paragraph each about tone and mood, and we'll go over that after the translation activity. And then in part 3, I just want you guys, if you want to ask me anything you want to know, anything you want to ask me, you can put this in here and I'll email you guys this weekend, okay? So part 3 is just extra, and if you don't put anything, you still get the point because it's my gift to you guys for being so patient with me over these months. Okay, so if you want to ask me anything, that's part 3. Okay, so in part 3, we'll watch 3 different videos of the prologue, and it'll give you some time to finish up anything you left undone, and then turn this in as a PDF at the end of the period. All right. Okay. So you should have had time, hopefully, to make copies of both of these things, the text and the worksheet. So let me stop sharing this. Okay. Now, as I said, let me know if you have any questions. As I said, we're going to go over the first stanza of the prologue. And oops. So what I mean by that is the prologue is actually a Shakespearean sonnet. So I don't know if you've heard of Shakespeare's sonnets. This isn't counted as one of them, but he wrote it in the same exact format as one of his sonnets. So it's 4 lines. It's a 4-line stanza, a quatrain. So it's 3 quatrains, 3 lines of 4 with an A-B rhyming pattern. Or here I put A-B, C, D, because you see dignity, mutiny, scene, unclean, and it goes on like that. Foes, throes, life, strife, and so on. And if you notice, each set of 4 lines is one complete sentence. So each quatrain, each set of 4 lines is one idea, essentially. So that might make it easier to understand. Also, if you notice, it ends with a couplet, a single rhyming couplet, attend and mend. Okay? So actually, one slight clue or one trick to translating this is maybe work backwards. Because he's at the end, he gets kind of meta and he's saying, this is our play and this is what it's going to be about and this is what we're going to talk about. So one trick to sort of doing it is maybe work backwards in the translation. Might give you some clues, but let's go over the first stanza just to take a look at the kind of language he uses. Luckily, there isn't very much difficult vocabulary here, to be honest, okay? So if we look at the first line, 2 households both alike in dignity. Okay, so how can we put that into sort of modern English? Actually, let me switch what I'm sharing. Hold on. Okay, so this looks like what you guys have on the worksheet. Okay, so 2 households both alike in dignity. So I might say 2 households, 2 families. Okay. Both of equal social standing, maybe. Okay. Oops. Yeah. 2 families, both of equal social standing. Because here, by dignity, both of the same class. Okay, yeah. Yeah. By dignity, they mean in society. Not like personal dignity. They mean sort of their standing amongst the community. So yeah, same class would work as well. A word like that. So yeah, there's lots of different ways you guys can interpret this. So in fair Verona, okay, this is pretty simple. In Shakespeare's time, fair basically just meant beautiful. Verona is a place, so you don't translate that. Where we lay our scene, okay? Where our play is set. Okay. And that's another trick to Shakespeare, you guys. I didn't really learn till college and really started to appreciate Shakespeare is how visual his language is. So when he says lay our scene, it's like he's laying out a table. You know, you're trying to you just imagine what you're seeing and what he's doing. Okay, so we could say in beautiful Verona, where our play is set, where we lay our scene, it's obviously a sort of a play on the word scene there. From ancient grudge, break to new mutiny. Okay, so a long-standing family feud, break to new mutiny. Okay, has erupted, oops, in new violence. No, guys should make a copy. Somebody asked me privately, yeah, you want to make a copy of this. It's a Google Doc available on the module, so just make your own copy so you can put in your own translation. Okay, so from ancient grudge, break to new mutiny. So a long-standing family feud has erupted in new violence. Okay, and in this case, mutiny, you usually think, nowadays you think about a ship, right? We think of mutiny on the Bounty. In this sense, mutiny is also against the government. Because if you remember, Mr. Jazik was mentioning how I think Mercutio is related to the prince. So, oh, okay. So Mercutio is related to, so these prominent people, their violence is causing trouble for the city government. Okay, so Verona is a city state. It's a city that's also like its own country at this point. So this mutiny is is reflecting badly on the government. Okay, so what they mean by where civil blood makes civil hands unclean, they're using a double meaning of civil, both as civil is in terms of government, okay, and civility as an acting civil. So they're people related to the government, yes, like a rebellion. So the sort of the street violence is becoming a riot, which is turning almost into rebellion because there are members of the related to the government actually involved in this rioting, which is why civil blood makes civil hands unclean. Okay, so which is making the city government look bad. I mean, you can say it as simple as that. Okay, that's one way of putting it. There's lots of different ways you guys could put it. Double O there. I can't type today. Okay, so that's just one way you could do it. Okay, you can for the first 4 lines if you want to, or in your group you can reinterpret the first 4 lines. But I want you to focus on the last 10 lines in your group. Okay, so if you want to copy my translation, you can, or you can put in your own translation, just of an understanding I kind of gave you. But I want you guys in your group to focus on the last 10 lines. Okay, this was just an attempt to model how I would translate it. Okay, there's no right or wrong. I just want to see what you guys do. Okay. All right. So I'm going to stop sharing this. Okay. So does anyone have any questions before I put you in the first breakout room session? Should be in groups of 3 to 4, and I want you to work together to translate the last 10 lines of the prologue into modern English that you would use today. All right? Okay. All right, let me start the breakout sessions. All right, breakout session should be starting. Hey, let me see. So you just coming in? Let me tell you what we're doing then. Okay, so we are working on the prologue. Okay, so the first thing you want to do, okay, go to the module for today, share it with you. All right, so you want to go to today. Let me know if any questions while I show this to you. And scroll down to right 3.5.21. All right. So what we're doing, I'm going to need you to make copies of two documents. Okay. The first one is just the text of the prologue for Romeo and Juliet, just for you to make notes on, to work with, to play with. And the other one is the Romeo and Juliet prologue worksheet. Okay. And everybody's in breakout rooms right now, working on translating the prologue into English that you would be able to understand, that we modern English users would be able to understand. And part two, we're just going to do tone and mood, but worry about that later. Okay, so what you want to do is to get both of these documents. So let me show you that. Okay, so they're just below the to-do list. Romeo and Juliet prologue text just looks like this. It's just the text of the prologue. Big, bold lines, so you guys can read it real well and play around with it. So you want to make a copy of that. That's the first one. Then you want to make a copy of the Romeo and Juliet prologue worksheet right below it, which looks like this. Okay. And so part one says, working with your group, write a translation for each line that you can understand. And you write the translation in this box below each line. Okay. And we already did the first 4 lines. So to here. And so in the breakout rooms, they are starting with from forth the fatal loins of these two foes. Okay. So make a copy of both of these documents. All right. Let me know when you have those copied. And is there anybody in particular you like to work with in a breakout room? Because I can assign you to anyone. Okay. All right. So if you have those documents, I will put you in breakout room 5. Hold on. All right. If you join the breakout room, I'll follow you to explain where you came from.
Hey, Jose, did you just join? Okay, I'm gonna put you in a breakout with Mr. Kuzmin right now. Or wait till Mr. Kuzmin comes back and then he will go over it with you. Don't apologize, just please start being on time. All right, you're like 25 minutes late, so I just want to see you be better. Good.
Oh, no, sorry about that. Didn't notice somebody else had come in late.
Oh yeah, no worries. I talked to Jose.
Oh, okay.
I told him to wait for you to give him directions.
Well, yeah, everyone's going to be coming back in a few minutes, so why don't I just show you the things that you need to copy, and then we can just wait for everyone to come back. I'm just coming back at 10:50, so that'll give me time to show you everything that you need to get. So if you're watching, let me show you. Okay. So you'd want to go to today's module on Canvas and scroll down to where it says to do 3.5.21. Okay. Click on that. And the first thing it says is make copies of Romeo and Juliet prologue text and Romeo and Juliet prologue worksheet. So if we go back to the module, scroll down, there are the two things just below the to-do list. So the prologue text looks like this. It's just the text of the prologue and big spaces so you guys can play around with it. Okay, so make a copy of that. The prologue text. And below that is the prologue worksheet. Okay, and so they're now doing part 1 on this in their breakout rooms where they're translating the text of the prologue. Okay, so before they went into the breakout rooms, I kind of translated the first 4 lines and they are translating the last 10. So when they come back from the breakout rooms, we're gonna probably quickly review the first four, then start with from forth the fatal loins of these two foes. Okay. So they are translating this, putting in their own words that they could understand. Okay. Then when they all come back, we're going to work on talking about tone and mood. But don't worry about that for now. Just scroll through this, take a look at it, see how you might want to translate it, and then try to pay attention when they all come back. All right. Okay, let me bring them back. All right, you guys. So hopefully that went well. I was trying to jump around between some of your groups, and I did hear a couple of you guys talking about it, and I could tell you were caught on the same lines. There are two lines left in there are a couple lines that aren't too bad, almost the same in modern English, but there's two lines, the third line in each of the two left quatrains that kind of gets tricky. Okay, so let's kind of go through this line by line and just ask you guys to suggest a translation that you guys came up with. So let me share. Oops, sorry. Oh, all right. Okay. So again, for those of you who came in late, in the first four lines, right, two households, both alike in dignity. I said two families, both of equal social. In fair Verona, where we lay our scene. Okay, you can't see the screen? Oh, hold on. Let me try that again. There was something funny when I shared it, so I wasn't sure. All right. Okay. Now hopefully you go. Yeah, I clicked on the wrong thing. Okay. Thank you guys. Okay, so again, just to review the first four lines, I translated. You guys can have a slightly different one or not bothered to, but two households, both alike in dignity, two families, both of equal social standing, prominence in the community. In beautiful Verona, where our play is set, in fair Verona, where we lay our scene. From ancient grudge break to new mutiny, a long-standing family feud has erupted in new violence, where civil blood makes civil hands unclean, well, which making the city government look bad, or the bloodshed in the streets among these prominent families that bring chaos to the city is another translation I wrote. So every time I translate it, I write a completely different one. So you guys can have very varied things. But what did some of you guys put for, notice the nice alliteration here, from forth the fatal loins of these two foes? Okay, yeah, the fatal loins. Okay, so yeah, of these two foes, the feuding families. Okay. Okay, so yeah, there's the fate again, as Mr. Jazik was speaking, fate and destiny. You guys were talking about earlier this week. Okay, so yeah, sort of again the sense of doom that we're putting. Okay, and I know you guys talked about this line quite a bit. A pair of star-crossed lovers take their life. How might you translate that? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. All those are perfectly. Yeah. So I prefer the word doomed. It just got a nice sound to it. But yeah, those are all good ways of interpreting it. All right. How about now? This is the tough one. This one I had to actually do some research because it was, as an English teacher, this was driving me nuts. Whose misadventured, piteous overthrows. The wrongly directed pity. Okay. That's a that's a good idea. Okay. Who were not supposed to meet, attempt to stop the conflict between the two families. Oh, actually, that's kind of moving towards it a little bit more, actually. Because the key to this line, you guys, is overthrows is not a verb. It's being used as a plural noun. I know. Now, as an English teacher, that blew me away. It still drives me nuts every time I read this line. So by overthrows, they mean their attempts to work against their family's desires. So their family doesn't want them to be together, and they're trying to overthrow their family's imposition on them. Their family trying to keep them apart, and they're trying to overthrow that. So their attempts to assert their own individuality, you might say, is what they mean by their overthrows. Okay, so it's a noun. It's not a verb. It's not a past tense verb. I know, weird. Misadventured, as you can see, it doesn't even consider it a word. Okay, and I heard some people in a group got it pretty much right. Same as misguided. So it's real easily translated as misguided, probably the best word to use. Who's misguided and piteous, worthy of pity, pitiable, sad. Okay, so who's misguided and sad attempts to assert their individuality over the desires of their family. Right, so overthrows is really interesting how it's used here. Okay, and then move down a little more. Doth with their death, doth just means does. Doth with their death bury their parents' strife. What does that sound like it means? Is how to deal with the parents' conflicts? Well, hopefully it was more personal that. Okay, well, yeah, when they die, their parents will stop fighting. Okay, so does with their death bury their parents' strife. It's their death that ends their parents fighting. Okay, and it kind of repeats this in the next one. Okay, so that's the second quatrain, right? So the fearful passage of their death-marked love. What do you guys get for that one? The fearful passage of their death-marked love. Okay, yeah, their death-marked love, their romance, the fearful passage. So, and this kind of also plays around with the word continuance and the continuance of their parents' rage. So the passage of their romance, the course of their romance, the journey of their romance, the course that it takes, and the continuance of their parents' rage. I know one group was even saying that you just need to kind the continuance into continuing, the continuing of their parents' rage. So the ongoing doomed romance and their parents' continuing anger. Okay, so those lines are pretty much straightforward. They kind of go back to, right, star-crossed lovers and doth with their death bury their parents' strife, continues the parents' rage. And if we look at this doth with their death bury their parents' strife, we come to the other line that's really difficult to understand here. Kind of mirrors that. Doth with their death and their parents' strife. But this says, which but their children's end not could remove. What does that sound like it might mean? Okay, yeah, that's getting pretty close. Okay. Which but their death. Okay, in this case, but nothing could change the fate of their children's death. Okay. Not means nothing. Okay, so yeah, you get the nothing could remove. Okay. So what could be removed? Their life? Okay, but that's covered in their children's end. We've already removed that. So their children's end could remove what? What did their suicide bury in the earlier line? The feud, right? So it says not could remove, nothing could end the feud but their children's end, their children's death. Okay, so except for their children dying in such a tragic way, nothing else was going to be able to remove their anger, their rage, their feud. Nothing would stop their feud except for their children dying in such a tragic way. But their children's end, except for their children's tragic death, nothing could remove their rage. Okay, that's a very tricky line. It's very tough to untangle. Okay, is now the 2 hours traffic of our stage. Pretty straightforward, is what we're going to see on stage for the next 2 hours. That one, you almost need no. Traffic, maybe. Again, he's trying to, that movement, like passage and continuance, there's that kind of movement feel. Okay, and then this final couplet. The which, if you with patient ears attend, what here shall miss, our toil shall strive to mend. How could you put that into modern English? Yeah, that's basically exactly it. So what the prologue misses or does not explain fully, the performance will fill in the rest of the story. The which, right? The play, if you with patient ears attend, if you stick around and listen, what here shall miss, what here literally in the prologue we have left out, we have missed. Our toil, our play, our acting shall strive to mend. We'll fix that. We'll fill you in. Right? Okay, good. Yeah. So it sounds like you guys got a pretty good fix on what this poem means, what this opening line means. Okay. Let me stop. Also on the module, hold on one second, let me publish it. Okay, so the presentation we're going to go over next, you guys. Again, ask me any questions if you have any questions about the prologue, but I think you guys have a pretty good understanding so far. But at the beginning of the presentation, we're going to go through about tone and mood. If you need kind of a reminder, it has it broken down to just one possible translation. Okay. I wanted to go through that later. That's available. But now we're going to go over tone and mood because you seem to have understood the prologue. So now we're going to talk about the tone and the mood of the prologue. And I had to actually look back to really refine the difference between these things because they're so easy to kind of mesh together. Okay. And if you want to, you guys, since it was something I did a while back with you, you can almost think of tone as external conflict and mood as internal. The tone is from the outside and it creates a mood in you, in the reader. The tone is what the author does to create the mood in the reader. So it's kind of like external and internal in that sense. Okay, so how are they the same and how are they different? So the tone is the author's own attitude towards the subject. Now, often it's speaking. Okay, the way you speak is how we talk about tone. Don't use that tone with me, your tone of voice. But in writing, tone is expressed through word choice. What words do they use? What syntax? What order of the words? Like we were looking at how confusing some of Shakespeare's syntax can be. Okay. Also, what they leave in, what they leave out. If there's a lot of adjectives, this is telling us a lot about the feelings that the author has about the subject. Okay. Mood is different. Mood is what the author is using the tone to try to create. Either successfully, unsuccessfully, it doesn't really matter. It's what the author wants the reader to feel. It's the atmosphere and feeling they're trying to create about the text. Okay? And none of these things are going to be said explicitly. They all need to be inferred. You're not going to flat out say, my tone is. I mean, nobody ever does that. You don't even, sometimes you don't even know if you have a tone, right? You have to be told, oh, you're taking a tone with me, right? And in writing too, you have to be careful of your tone, right? When you write text messages and emails, it's just writing. You can't put, that's why we sometimes have to put little emojis and things because that's tone we're adding to things. If you really think about it. So, right, people will say, watch your tone when speaking to me. So as I said, it's the writer's attitude towards it. So it's conveyed through diction, the words that they choose to use, their point of view. Okay, if they talk about themselves a lot, then they're coming at you from a certain standpoint, a certain identity, a certain point of view. Okay? As I said, the syntax, the order of the words. Remember, but for their children's death, not could remove, is kind of awkward syntax. And formality, how formal is it? You know, people like to think Shakespeare is really, really formal, but he used the word stuff all the time. Okay, so there's places where Shakespeare is very informal. Some places where he's very formal. Okay? It changes the tone of the thing. So, like for in a comedy, you'll have a much more informal tone than in a tragedy. You're not going to have many little chuckles in a tragedy. Okay, and for instance, tone can turn a statement like "you're a big help." So if you say, "Oh, you're a big help, thanks," into "you're a big help, thanks," you can see that makes a difference. And remember, as I said, it's like when you use emojis in a text or an email. You're trying to convey a tone. You think, well, that might be taken the wrong way, so let me put a smiley face there. I know I do it all the time because I'm afraid somebody's going to think I'm serious and when I'm not being serious. But that's the way we can convey tone in writing. And if you're a really skilled writer, you don't have to use emojis. You can do it with actual words. So these are some useful tone words, you guys. Accusatory tone, you're charging somebody wrongdoing, you're blaming someone. Bitter, critical, you're finding fault. Earnest, right? Intimate, matter of fact. Right? These are all various kinds of tones. Solemn, sincere, sarcastic. Now, mood is different. Mood is what the tone is trying to make you feel as the reader. So, you know, tone is direction toward, mood is sort of internal. It's evoked by the text and what makes you experience. You know, why did they use the words or phrases they did? If you're trying to figure out what the mood is they're trying to make. What are they trying to do? Pretend you're the writer. Try to figure out what games they're playing, what tricks they're using. Okay. So some useful mood words: suspenseful mood, a lonely mood, happy, angry. Okay. As you notice, right, these tone words tend to be more directed from one person to another, while these mood words are more your own feelings. Okay. So if you really get stuck, think, don't use that tone and you're in a mood, you know. So beware, tone and mood are easily confused. So remember that tone, how the author feels, and the words they use. Mood is the atmosphere and what it makes you as a reader feel. Okay, so examples of tone. We'll just go with this last one here. I called my friend at their house. Her brother said she's not home, but I heard her voice come over the line. Okay, so this person could have ended, I called my friend at their house. Her brother said she's not home. That's just sort of a statement of fact. But I heard her voice come over the line. They added that in order to convey a sense of suspicion, a tone of suspicion, which is supposed to make you feel that their friend is lying to them. You see, okay? So pay attention to what they leave in and what they leave out. Everything is intentional. So why do they include that phrase or that word? What's the point of it? Okay. And an example of mood here again is about what they leave in, what they leave out. Let's take a look at the one in the middle here about the cat. Okay. It says, the man kicked and threw the poor cat out of his house. So you could have written, the man got rid of the cat. The man threw the cat out of his house. but they chose to put the man kicked and threw the poor cat out of his house. So kicked and threw. We're accentuating this violence against the cat and the poor cat. That really drives it home. Okay, what kind of a mood we're creating with the tone of the poor cat and the guy who kicked in through it. We're supposed to feel bad for the cat, pity for the cat, and maybe anger towards the man. That's the mood that the writer is trying to evoke in the audience. Okay, so what is the writer trying to make you feel? Mood is what they're trying to make you feel. Tone is how they're trying to make you feel it. All right, so again, just to review tone and mood. Tone is the author's attitude and how they express it. Mood is what they're trying to make you feel in how they express it. All right. Okay. So do you guys have any questions about tone and mood? Let me just quickly go back to part 2 of the worksheet. All right. Okay, so if we look on part 2 of the worksheet, it says, working with your group, use complete sentences to echo and respond to each question in a paragraph of 3 to 5 sentences. Right? So just one paragraph on tone, one paragraph on mood. That's all I'm asking for you guys. Okay? So it says tone, find at least 3 words or phrases that show the tone that the author of the prologue uses, which is how they feel about the subject and how they express these feelings in writing. So find 3 words or phrases that show the tone. Describe the tone and explain how these words or phrases express that tone. Okay, so first sentence is the right words or phrases, then a couple sentences to describe. Right? Second one, second paragraph I want from you guys, 3 words or phrases that help to create the mood that the prologue wants the reader to feel as the play begins. Okay, so the tone is setting up the mood. Describe this mood and explain how these words or phrases help to create that mood. Okay, so I want you in your groups to write a paragraph for each of these. That's 2 paragraphs. And you can look at part 3. Part 3 just says, if you want to ask me any strange questions, you can ask. All right, do we have any questions about part 2? All right, so I want to give you as much time as I can in your breakout rooms again. We'll be in there until 11:45. Then I'll pull you guys out at 11:45 and we'll watch 3 short performances of the prologue, and that's it. I don't want you to write anything more. Just finish up what you guys have been working on in parts 1 and 2. Okay, so I'm going to put you in breakout rooms until 11:45. And I'll check on you about halfway through. Okay, Jose, is there anyone in particular that you would want to be in a group with? No? Okay. I'll just assign you to somebody. you able to get back in? Are you able to get back into your breakout room, or do I need to put you back, Tamara? Okay, let me check. Yeah. Okay, so you were in group 4. Okay, you guys, so sounds like you guys are having some interesting conversations. So what did you come to as far as the tone? What are some descriptions of tone you might be able to come up with? Dark, okay. Dark tone. Ominous, okay. Foreboding, right? You feel something bad's gonna happen, right? Okay. So yeah, that's again one of the reasons we mix up tone and mood so much is we tend to use the same words to describe them. So yeah, it's tough to say which words exactly are dark and they make a dark mood. They set a dark tone. They use a dark tone to make a dark mood. Okay. So yeah, we have a pretty ominous tone. So the mood is sort of tragic. There's also a lot of sadness, kind of a resolution, like at least it came to something. All this bad stuff happened, but at least some good came out of it. I don't know. That's the feeling I kind of get looking at it. All right, you guys. So in the last few minutes, I just want you to take a look at 3 different versions. You don't have to join the Nearpod. I'm just going to share it and play it on my screen. And the one in the middle, the one from 96, you guys have already seen. But I want to first show you the older one from 1968, and then we'll see the one from 1996 again, and then a much more recent musical version, because poetry is originally meant to be sung, after all, and songs are poems. So I just want you guys to see the different tone and mood that's set by these different versions of the prologue. All right, so give me 1 second to share that properly. Okay, let me know. Hold on, let me close a few things here. Hold on 1 second. Let me just close a few of my windows here. Okay. Okay, so let me know if you have trouble seeing or hearing this. I believe I set it up correctly.
Two households, both alike in dignity, in fair Verona, where we lay our scene. From ancient grudge break to new mutiny, where civil blood makes civil hands unclean. From forth the fatal loins of these two foes, a pair of star-crossed lovers take their life. Whole misadventured piteous overthrows doth with their death bury their parents' strife. The fearful passage of their death-marked love, and the continuance of their parents' rage, which but their children's end naught could remove, is now the 2 hours' traffic of our stage. The which if you with patient ears attend, what here shall miss, our toil shall strive to mend.
Okay, you guys, so that was the old 1968 one. That's the one I grew up with. This is this one came out in 96. I was a junior in high school in 1996. So, but this is the one you've seen before, but notice how the mood and tone are maybe a bit different.
Two households, both alike in dignity, in fair Verona, where we lay our scene. From ancient grudge break to new mutiny, where civil blood makes civil hands unclean. From forth the fatal loins of these two foes, a pair of star-crossed lovers take their life, whose misadventured piteous overthrows doth with their death bury their parents' strife. The fearful passage of their death-marked love and the continuance of their parents' rage, which but their children's end naught could remove, is now the 2 hours traffic of our stage.
indignity in fair Verona, where we lay our scene. From ancient grudge break to new mutiny, where civil blood makes civil hands unclean. From forth the fatal loins of these two foes, a pair of star-crossed lovers take their life.
Okay, so yeah, you guys, you see how ridiculously 1990s that was. I know you guys weren't born yet, but that is so hilariously 1990s. And if you notice, this one focuses more on sort of the social chaos and conflict, while the first one seemed to be more about the family. Okay, now let's take a look at this last one. This one's more romantic, I would say, but you be the judge.
Two households both alike in dignity, in fair Verona where we lay our scene. From ancient gods break to new mutiny, where civil blood makes civil hands unclean. From forth the fatal lawns of these two foes, a pair of star-crossed lovers take their life, whose misadventure piteous overthrow doth with their death bury their parents' strife. The fearful passage of their death marks love, and the continuance of their parents' rage, which but their children's and not could remove, is now the two-armed traffic of our state. The which if you with patient ears attend, what here shall miss, our toil shall strive to mend.
All right, you guys. I don't know what you thought about that one. I thought that one had much more of a focus on Romeo and Juliet themselves, it felt like, the tone and mood that it created. Okay, so anybody have any questions? Just about time for lunch.
Before you head off, Mr. Kuzman, I want to add something in real quick.
Okay.
Just unrelated to the lesson, but guys, on Monday, I think it's a B Monday. We may not have a class. Please check your announcements, okay? And that's all I want to say. There'll still be an assignment if we don't have a WebEx period, but just check the announcements.
All right then. Well, you guys can go off to lunch then. I'd say see you tomorrow or see you next week, but I won't. But bye, everybody. I have no idea, you guys.